stay with us as we are sailing into the other session. It's going to be another very interesting and very engrossing session as we have an expert on futures trends here with us from Finland. Susanna Europen is eminent trend analyst, a futures thinker, lecturer, designer, and a journalist from Finland. She is an international expert on future trends in design, interiors, living and work, consumer behavior, shifts and values, sustainability and fashion. And she also talks about the societal trends vis-a-vis the mega trends. Trends, as we all know in fashion, are ever dynamic. They are constantly changing and evolving. And
so, thank you so much for the invitation to come here and talk to you. So I'm a trend analyst, which means that I go around all kinds of design fairs in Europe, and my job is to look for a change, look at things that are different, and they can be different. Anything can be different. I can either see different products, or I can read an article in a newspaper and they mention something that they didn't mention before. So that is my job. I also curate exhibitions. I'm going to talk a little bit about that because it has to do with the subject we are talking, well, I am talking today. So these are basically the subject I'm covering tonight. Design in general is a huge subject, much more than product design these days. It's getting much more holistic. And one thing also what is changing in this busy world of information economy, people are really stressed with time. So things need to be easy. And we are getting more and more impatient. It's actually been said that nowadays, if a person is looking for some information on a web page, and if you don't find it in 7 seconds, you move on, which is ridiculous in a way. But that's how we are more impatient nowadays. And sustainability issues are also getting so important in Europe. Everybody is talking about them. Media is talking about them. I'm actually teaching designers, fashion designers in Finland. And nowadays for them, I'm happy to say, sustainability issues, it's not a trend, but it's something that they are actually really looking into as an ingredient in the whole design process. So design, we'll start off with design. Well, it used to be so that there are companies providing product design and companies providing service design. But nowadays, service is in a very important role, and it's required also from product design companies or product manufacturers. And that means that there is a shift, a very clear shift towards the customer-centric products and services. And again, we come to the same thing that I'm going to keep repeating. It's the ease, the easiness of the... Can you actually offer something? Can you offer more services than somebody else who has exactly the same price level as your products, about the same quality? And the only difference would be that with you, it's much easier to do work with, and you offer some services that they don't offer. And these services don't have to do with money. It's more about ideas and putting the customer into the center. Whether it's B2B or B2C, it doesn't make any difference. Another thing that seems to be popping up everywhere is the sort of joint forces that two companies that have nothing to do supposedly with each other actually do a project together and it is a win-win for everybody. For instance, in a W hotel in London or in UK, you can actually hire dresses from a place called Girl Meets Dress. So from your hotel room, you can check what's available, and then you can have your outfit for the night. So that's just an example of what I'm talking about. Another example is everybody knows what's a minibar in a hotel room. But in Holland, they've actually done projects where you have mini fashion bar in a hotel room. So you can actually buy clothes. You see something you like and you call the concierge and then you get your size and whatever. It's made easy, and it's coming out in a context where your company would normally never come out. Because that's what we are talking about. I mean, here I am, I haven't been here for very many hours, but I was just walking around and seeing so many products, so many beautiful products, so many companies. Well, how can you make yourself step out from that crowd? How do you find the clients you need to find? And how do they find you? I was lost. I was literally lost walking around. Luckily, I wasn't buying anything. I was just admiring. But still, how do you find? How do you come out? How do you make yourself different? It's all about that. Adidas actually also did a project in Berlin with the metro line. So if you buy one pair of sneakers, then you also get the metro tickets for 1 year. And that has a social meaning in the sense, although it means business for both the companies, but it has social meaning in the sense too that it is encouraging people to use more public transport. And again, with all these examples, you have design linked with them. So design can be used in very many contexts, and that's the future. And then there's design thinking, that even Harvard Business Review has been giving a whole issue on design thinking, ideating a lot, doing rapid experiments to see if something works or doesn't work, just like in a normal design process, which can be used in any business or even any concept or production or project. Well, then we come to the holistic part of design, and that means that one way of actually becoming yourself visible, no matter what you do, is to have contemporary, good web design and to be active in social media, because this is the information world we are talking about. And in so many cases you have beautiful products, but the web page looks like it's 25 years old, and therefore in some markets that might give an idea that you're amateurish, although you're totally the opposite. But it's just something, and there are certain aesthetics in the graphic design, and that's why it's good to actually invest a little bit towards the web design and package design. And with the package design also, I mean, we know what plastic is, so maybe you could figure out a way not to use so much plastic, but we'll get into that a little bit later. So think about it. Think about the packages. Think about the whole process, the whole visuality of everything linked with your product, no matter what it is, what the product is. I'm telling you a little bit about a case, which is What the Hell from Finland, and that was an exhibition that I just last month curated to IDS Vancouver Fair. And it was an exhibition showcasing products and also services, not just, and I was also a keynote speaker there. So we had some 30 different companies and designers involved. So what did we do? We created a very contemporary web page with a good designer. Then we created Instagram, and we're still getting, the exhibition is over, but we're still getting followers all the time because we've been very active. And also the companies have been very active themselves, and they've been commenting and they've been reposting. So it sort of lives on, and that's today, that's not even future, that's today. You have to do these things. And you have to get a professional to do the web pages. It's not okay that your friend has started to do something and okay, I can do it for free. But it's something that can really make a difference whether you appear different from the crowd and whether you appear being a professional. There are just a couple of photos of the exhibition. And it was showcasing a lot of designers who actually do crafts. So that's branding. That's part of the branding. Myssyfarmi is about storytelling, because that also is, like most of you probably know, that is, to begin with, that's what humans have always been doing. They've been telling stories around the fire and camps and whatever, probably in the Stone Ages as well. Stories are part of human behavior, and storytelling is also getting really, really important and part of this holistic design. But the stories have to be true. They have to be, if you don't have a story to tell, then don't say anything. But if you have a story to tell, and think about the history of India and all these companies and all these skills of making crafts and products. You have so many stories, you just have to tell them. So Myssyfarmi is actually, there was a snowboarding guy who inherited from his parents a sheep farm. And he was figuring out what to do, so he thought, well, it's great to also do something with the wool. So he started a company making beanies and scarves. And the products themselves, they are not really anything special. They are just organic, nice, 100% wool products. But they are telling the story. It's visible in their web pages. And they say, and it's from a tiny little village called Pöytyä. Nobody has ever even heard of the village. And the fun thing is that they have grannies. So each beanie is unique. They have grannies who are making the beanies. And they bring that out in their web pages. And they bring that out in their marketing. That, hey, these are the actual grannies who knit our beanies. And they've actually made a thing about saying that they are uncool. They don't want to be anything cool. They are uncool because they are warm and they come from a really uncool little village. So that's marketing, that's branding. And now they are getting a lot of orders from all over the world and Asia and everywhere. The product is, I mean, surely there are so many companies that are exactly the same, but they know how to talk about it, and they know what it is. They are totally transparent. They say everything in there. They tell everything, and it's totally sustainable. And also, it's a story. Knitted by grannies, how uncool is that? Then another thing I really have to point out, in Europe, copies are a total no-no. And it's getting even more so. And if you think of a fair like Ambiente, which is a huge fair in Frankfurt, I'm sure some of you probably work with Ambiente anyway. And they actually have an exhibition where they where they pick copies and then they showcase the original one and the copy. I mean, there are so many products that have been there forever and nobody can own the design. So that's fine. I mean, then that's it. I mean, you know, who can say that who's designed something, and something might be designed 1,000 years ago or hundreds of years ago or whatever. But when I'm talking about very rude copies where there is a specific design and everybody, and nowadays in this information economy that we live in, people know, they get the information, they follow trends, they follow companies, and if you see them, well, that can just, you might have really nice products and everything else, but then you have just a few of those copies and the client sees that, okay, this is a company who does a lot of copies. That's it, thank you, next one. Then there's another, also, same thing, I'm repeating myself, that this is Andre Hartikainen, who's a carpenter, who's also a young designer of the year. And he doesn't have much money, he's just starting out, but he's invested in a nice web page. He does beautiful products and he's very also sustainable, he's also very transparent, a lot. So now he's getting a lot of interest, little by little. Wow, sustainability is in the media every day. I just came across of this, that actually in India 120 billion plastic utensils get caught in the landfills annually. I mean, India is a big country, so that's why the figures are very, very big as well. We just got the IPCC report, and it's telling a sad story about the state of our globe, our world. And they are saying that limiting the climate change into 1.5 degrees means loads of work from everyone, from each person, but also each company involved everywhere in the world. And because of that, the regulations are going to be so much stricter. So the sooner each company makes these little steps towards sustainability and transparency, the better off they are in the future. Because I'm very, very sure that in the future we are just getting stricter and stricter and stricter. We have to. And by the way, Finland had the hottest summer for 150 years this summer. It was as hot as in India. And this is also quite sad that 40% of the population of the world in developed countries, and perhaps as much as 65% in developing countries, have not even heard of the word climate change. This is actually a photo from Finland in the middle of the night during summer, like 3 o'clock at night. Hope to keep it that way. But the good news is that everybody can do something. Just even a little step is always a step towards something better. And the good thing is that that's why actually media is really picking it up in Finland, in Europe, and stuff like that. Ambiente 2017 actually had sustainability in the core. They had this Design Plus competition. I was in the jury, and they also had an exhibition on sustainable products. if a huge fair takes that into core, then things start to happen as well. So that is a good thing. But it's much more than using recycled materials, much, much more. And a lot of companies actually are doing lots of good things, but they're not communicating them. And that's the bad thing. I mean, EcoStyle Fair had this sort of criteria, what they wanted from the companies that can access the EcoStyle Fair. And okay, minimal ecological footprint, yes. Little CO2, yes. An efficiency of use of material and energy, but also product quality. The better quality the products are, the longer they last, the more sustainable they are. Easy. And then also positive social and cultural impact, meaning that is your company giving work to handicapped people or something? If so, it should be communicated, because that is good. Or doing other social things. But most of all, transparency. That is the key word, transparency. Really in the future, the more you can be transparent about the good you do, that just might be the point that separates you from the others. There was a company we did some branding for, and they made products 100% made in Finland. They had very few, reclamations, because the quality was so good. They were doing windows. They packed them so well that they didn't break, and they could actually give a 30-year guarantee to the products and everything. But in their web pages, you could read nothing about that, because they were sort of thinking, well, it's a family company and we've been doing this, we have integrity and we've been doing this for a long time. I mean, why should we talk about it? You know, everybody who's dealing with us knows. No, they don't know. So bring it out in the open air. And fashion is often actually sort of blamed for being, which is quite true, that it's the second most polluting industry in the world. But at the same time, there's, for instance, a web shop called honestbuy.com from a Belgian guy, and he opens up everything. You can go and buy a dress from there and just click and buy. But you can also go deep into the details, that this dress was made in such and such factory, which has so and so many employees, and they even bring out to the open what the price is, how is it formed, how many buttons, how much does it cost, everything. So that's being transparent. But what is luxury anyway? Luxury used to be something perfect, but the good news is that now we're going much more towards sort of nice, unique kind of luxury. That means that it doesn't have to be perfect. These products don't have to be perfect. If they show that somebody has been doing them by hand, that's even better, because then it's real. So I think crafts in general have a very good future. And again, I'm reminding you of the services and making the life easier for the through the communication. But cultural differences, they can actually also make business harder. So that's really good to take into account. I mean, I think Indian people are really great, and I like talking to Indian people and getting to know people, but already I am noticing differences. Like in Scandinavia, one likes to know what's happening next and what is the timetable for something. But here it's more like, blump, okay. Something is happening and nobody told you that it's happening. So to me it's fine, I'm easy. I mean, I don't have a plan as such, I'm just here at a certain time and that's it. But if I was doing business as a European, I would really want to know what's happening, when, why. If I send an email with 10 questions, I don't want to get just 5 questions answered. I'd like to get the 10 questions answered, and then at least, you know, the information that, oh, I can't tell you right now, but I'll find out and get back to you. But isn't it a richness that we are all different? And anyway, with the information economy, the trends are, I find, you don't need the same way as you used to. You don't need to have a trend, one specific trend. But now we have loads of different trends going on the same time. And actually in that sense, I feel that this is a sort of era where the meaning of specific trends actually is smaller. They are not so important anymore. Now it is totally fine to have loads of things, whereas before everybody knew what was happening in the 60s or what products in the 60s looked like and what products make up furniture, cars, whatever, what they looked like in the 70s, 80s, 90s. But we are also blind to our zeitgeist. We are blind to this era. What looks normal to us right now, say everything in this room, from computers to the way we are dressed, it's not going to look normal. It's shifting. In 20 years, when we look back, if we take a photo here now, it looks dated. But we are blind to it. So in a way, we are attached to our era, but at the same time, I'm saying that I believe that trends as such are not so fast forward going anymore, and there are so many of them. So that's basically it. But the thing is, like I said, if there are 2 similar products and about the same price level, I'd rather, and so many people would rather be dealing with a company that is more transparent and easy to work with and has been thinking about the branding, and so that you come across being a professional. Thank you. Do you have questions?
This is out of my experience traveling. I was in the London Fashion Week, the Fashion Design Week basically, last month, and I realized that anything that is made in Sweden, France, Norway, is priced, handmade by the way, is priced at a premium price. Whereas anything which is made in Southeast Asia, India, Nepal, Vietnam, is priced at a fairly low price. So is there a reason why do we have such disparity in prices?
Good question. It's also to do with branding. When if you have an unknown brand and the price is very high up versus you have a well-known brand selling a product for the same high price, people tend to go towards the well-known brand. And maybe it's also about the past. Again, I don't know, people For instance, for many people, something made in China for a long time made something which was made really cheaply and mass market. So maybe it's the image still lurking in there, although there are beautiful handmade products, expensive products, and a lot of designers coming up in these countries. So I think it's a burden of history in a way. And again, we need branding. We need to take these products in a certain a concept that looks very contemporary. And then when it looks contemporary, then you can also get a higher price, I would imagine, little by little. There's actually a fashion designer, a Belgian fashion designer called Dries van Noten. And he has a lot of stuff, he's always had, since 1995, he's had a lot of stuff made in India. Beautiful things, but he has this touch, this contemporary European touch, mixed with the traditional Indian products, and he has a very high price level and excellent quality. I don't know if I answered your question.
Now there is a move towards more individual pieces, like something that is very unique to each customer, and people are looking at that individuality. So from the mass market times, it is now moving towards unique pieces. Do you see that trend continuing and further going down to the middle level of the market?
It's been more and more sort of accepted that nowadays people don't dress up with only designer wear or only thrift shop clothes or only mass market, but it's actually acceptable to have everything. And when you think that, for instance, there's a supermarket, very cheap supermarket chain in Germany called Lidl. And now Lidl is been selling fashion collections. And to begin with, for people who wear designer clothes, that was a joke. But nowadays, those same people actually go to Lidl to get, sometimes they have Heidi Klum or somebody designing a collection for them, and people actually go and buy it. I think it's a combination of everything, and it will keep being like that. And now when you think of chain stores also, they've started doing more sort of, what do you call it, cooperations with famous designers and things like that. So H&M has been doing that for years, and that's going forward as well. But in general, I just personally hope that people start to see, so that there would be also a shift in the way that they consume. But this might be wishful thinking, but the sort of shift that people would buy better quality more seldom, and then in the end you end up spending the same amount of money, but you just have things that last longer.
And you craft exports, and whoever we are speaking to is saying that the buyers see how long you are there in the business, and they see experience, so they will see how long you're there in the business. So I'm saying anything that you've seen that will combat that. Maybe it's like, I see transparency, but we were thinking maybe more creative products would combat your just starting out. But how do you think about it?
Well, the good thing is, when you think about sustainability, for instance, if you've had a company for a long time and you have a big company and you have all these, the process and the whole production, how it's going, and if it hasn't been created taking sustainability into account, because that was not what was very common 20 years ago or 30 years ago or something, then it's much harder to actually shift the huge boat going towards sustainability. And it takes a lot of money. But if you're starting now, you have the advantage that you can actually really look into these things when you're starting, and then design. one thing to remember also is that nobody buys anything, no matter how sustainable it is, if it is ugly and not desirable. We want, as human beings, that's a built-in system from Stone Ages as well, that we want things, we want to buy, we want new things. So, but if the things are sustainable and ugly, we don't want them. So design, that is the first thing that has to be right. Of course, that's also a matter of taste. But that has to be right to a certain crowd. And then think of this transparency, storytelling, branding, webpage and everything, and then that's a good start to be contemporary. And the thing is that you can also, with even sort of very traditional products, you can come out in a very contemporary way. And then that makes you...
Susanna, thank you for your insights. Sustainability is in fact call of the day, and it's all about our survival. And you emphasized today on sustainability, amongst other things such as design and quality, the communication, the branding, the storytelling. It was a very nice presentation. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Excuse me.
Thank you so much. That's a memento for you.
Yes, ma'am.